TYT Sports and RotoWire. I'm here with Chris List, Jason Rubin. These segments are brought to you by DraftKings, where you can win a share of $10,000 playing daily fantasy baseball. Play for free by entering promo code TYT at DraftKings.com with a first-time deposit. That's TYT at DraftKings.com. All right, so Chris, Alex Rodriguez, you're a longtime Yankee fan. Born and raised a Yankee fan? Born and raised in New York?
Ever since I was a kid.
So you've been wearing pinstripes since 5 years old, 6 years old. How, to me, Alex Rodriguez is getting to the point where in this season that he's already exceeded the expectations of most people, considering I feel like the fans wanted him to come in, whether you're a Yankee fan or just a baseball fan, to fail because he's an asshole. And I have no other way to put it. But when you see his numbers so far, he's hitting the ball well, he's hitting it hard. He's got, I believe, 2 home runs on the season. The Yankees don't even want to celebrate any of these accomplishments, mostly because of the money. His contract has milestones. We'll get to that in a bit, but I do want to hear your thoughts considering Alex Rodriguez on this season.
I'm going to take issue with almost every premise you had in that opening. The first one is that I've been wearing pinstripes. I only wore them a couple times when I had a Yankee uniform when I was about 7. Haven't worn them since, maybe a suit once when I was like 25. Second, I don't think people are rooting for AROD to fail. I mean, some people are because people are stupid, but I think that most Yankee fans are rooting for him to succeed, and I personally am rooting for him to succeed at a massive level. I'd like to see him hit a walk-off home run to win the World Series, win the Triple Crown, whatever, because I think he is not an asshole. I don't think you really have evidence that he's an asshole. I think what he is
I have evidence that he's an asshole.
Okay, well, we can talk about this, is that he is a terrible spokesman for himself. If he were to be a PR person, he's the worst PR person in the history, one of the worst in the history of all sports, and he always does the dumb thing. He's not smooth like Jeter was. What has he really done? You know, he took roids. I mean, that's like 90% of the league took roids, okay? And I just think he's just wrongly vilified for a systemic problem that if you want to blame somebody for a systemic problem, look at the top. Look at Bud Selig turning a blind eye to the McGuire-Sosa, obviously jacked up on roids out of their minds. You look at their heads.
Was it them too, including about everybody else that came into the 90s? Giambi's, even Griffey when he was on Cincinnati. I mean, these things happen.
I mean, I don't know if Griffey was, and I don't know, who was specifically, except McGuire and Sosa. I would bet a lot of money were, and Bonds and Clemens,
Jose Canseco.
And the guys who've gotten busted and admitted it, Giambi. But what I'm saying is this was a systemic problem that really should fall on ownership, management, the commissioner of baseball, and AROD was made to be the scapegoat for this, and now he's reviled, and it's unfair. And I'm not saying he's the greatest guy in the world. I'm just saying he's an average guy, and he's the bad guy. So I hope, because he's gotten so much scorn that was undeserved, that he has a monster year and gives the middle finger to Bud Selig and all those people who were really actually responsible for the fiasco that was the steroid era and that has made all the sacred records like Aaron's 755 and Ruth's 714 and Maris' 61 totally irrelevant, and nobody cares who the leader in home runs is now or the all-time leader in home runs is.
Right. So he's an asshole because he's on the New York Yankees. That's simply my subjective evidence as a jealous New York Mets fan. Yeah. But no, I think you actually hit the nail on the head when you said the PR. He's the worst PR person in the world because he comes off as this lying, cheating scumbag, but he also was scapegoated by the MLB. Right. And it was unfair, at least to him. So the one thing that I need to at least catch up on here is that I'm rooting for AROD this year because now everybody hates him. And even when they were booing him beforehand. The interesting thing about his contract, though, and how the Yankees aren't, they seem to be just completely ignoring the idea that he's going to pass Willie Mays for 4th all-time on the home run list, an immortal player, a legend, an icon, and of course, oh my God, A-Rod's in there. Is he tainting it? I want to take a look at some of those milestones because they're interesting. So we have some graphics because it's not just the home runs this year. It's a lot to do with if you make all-star teams, MVPs if you finish 6 through 10. So yeah, so $30 million marketing agreement based on home run milestones, 6 for 660, 714 Ruth, Aaron 755. Of course, the Major League breaking home run record. There's 2 more graphics. Let's move on to those. 50,000 for finishing 6th through 10th in an MVP vote, which is not out of the question.
Unlikely, but yeah,
unlikely. 100,000 for making an all-star team, for receiving most all-star votes, a Silver Slugger, making postseason AP.
Yeah, none of this is going to happen.
Baseball America, Sporting News, blah, blah, blah. 150,000 each for an LCS or LDS
that
MVP. That could happen. Yeah. 200,000 for World Series MVP. $500,000 for MVP. $1 million for second. $1.5 million for subsequent MVPs. I mean, look, this is the worst contract based on money that we've ever seen because they didn't foresee these. My feeling was the Yankees saw this. They signed AROD. Of course, at the time, he was the best baseball player on the planet. And they foresaw this as, oh, when he gets to these home run milestones, he's not going to be a scapegoat in the league. He's going to be the person who's going to, we can jack up ticket prices to $250. You come see A-Rod break Willie Mays' record. You come see A-Rod break Babe Ruth's record. You see A-Rod hit the first ever 800th MLB home run.
Okay, a couple things. First off, if he wins MVP, it's money well spent, right? I mean, it means at 40, you really pay, you underpay for the peak years you get, you overpay for the later years. That's how contracts work in baseball. They're guaranteed. That's how it goes. If you're still winning MVPs at 38, 39, 40, then they basically got a great deal on the whole contract. Obviously, that's not the way it went. Right. Okay? So that's one thing. The second thing is, these guys are just a bunch of bitches, okay, who make these contracts. And I'll just tell you why. The Angels are doing the same thing with Josh Hamilton, trying to weasel out because he reported his own violation. He apparently got drunk.
He did the right thing.
Well, he might have known he was going to get tested and busted, so he might have just come forward because it was smart.
Okay.
I don't know.
Better at PR.
But we're not supposed to know about this, right?
No.
And it was leaked to the LA Times. They don't know who leaked it, but it's probably the Angels. They're trying to get out of this money they owe him, $30 million the next 2 years, and the Yankees are mad. So they say Josh needs to take responsibility, blah, blah, blah. He's an addict, whatever. A-Rod needs to take responsibility. He cheated the game. He's a bad guy, whatever. How about you, the executive that signed this guy this money, knowing who he was, take responsibility for a bad signing? Josh Hamilton was a drug addict. You knew that. You signed him. He relapsed. How about saying, I resign as the general manager because I am too much of an idiot to have foreseen this, and I'm going to take responsibility. Or ownership made me do it. Ownership comes in and says, you know what? It was my fault. I wanted this player. I overlooked this possibility. I'm not going to cheat the fans. I'm going to go spend another $30 million this year on a new player in free agency, even though our budget's going to be huge, because I take responsibility for this. And I think, the whole idea of A-Rod needs to take responsibility or, Hamilton needs to take responsibility when it's really Bud Selig took no responsibility for the steroid fiasco. The Angels management takes no responsibility for the bad deal they made. The Yankees management takes no responsibility for signing a player in his early to mid-30s up through his 40s, okay? And the truth is, if they were producing like Miguel Cabrera, remember when Miguel Cabrera was speeding and got pulled over and pounded a bottle of Jack right in front of the officer? They were supporting Miguel Cabrera. Why? Because the dude was producing. Right? So now you got these washed-up older guys. Hamilton's not that old, but he struggled last year even before he relapsed. And now they're trying to weasel out of the contract. I think this is really just kind of pathetic. And I will tell you that those were actually, in the A-Rod case, those were good contract clauses. If you're winning MVP at 40, it's money well spent. He's not going to win MVP. He could of the ALCS.
That's 6th through 10th. I think he could finish 10th in the MVP voting.
He's not really playing defense except sporadically and not well when he does.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, David Ortiz has finished in the top 10 of MVP voting as a DH, so it could happen.
The elite, full-time designated hitter.
He's the Edgar Martinez of my generation.
Yes, he is, right. And so it's possible. It's possible.
Right. So the last question I want to throw to you is that Yankee fans, in general, I'm going to have you speak for all of the Yankee fans, and there's a lot of you out there.
I'm happy to represent them.
You're happy to represent the pinstripes. Does it matter who's in the jersey as long as they're producing?
What do you mean by that?
Is
it a Seinfeld question?
Yes, essentially it's a Seinfeld question.
So why is this pertaining to Yankee fans rather than just any fan of any sport?
Because Alex Rodriguez is the center of all things New York Yankees right now. And for the rest of the season.
Again, you're asking the wrong person because I don't represent Yankee fans in this regard. I am an A-Rod fan. I like A-Rod. He was one of the very keys to them winning the 2009 World Series. I like the guy. I don't begrudge that he's a terrible PR person for himself. So to me, it doesn't matter. If Saddam Hussein was in a Yankee uniform, would I root for him? Maybe not.
All right, there you have it. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe. And these segments are brought to you by DraftKings, where you can win a share of $10,000 playing daily fantasy baseball. Play for free by entering promo code TYT at DraftKings.com. That's promo code TYT at DraftKings.com.